It's a mystery to a lot of people why their love life seems to be full of problem people. You know, self-centered people, angry people, dishonest people, people who can't really love them back. And when this happens over and over, it might seem like there's an invisible force in the air that drives them to you. And you hear this in letters from people who write to me like all the time, where they see it like a magnetic power that they have no control over. And they'll say, I attract to these people who are bad for me. So how do these bad people find you? What signal are they getting that you, of all people, would be good for them to attach to? My letter today is from a woman I'll call Gwen, and she writes, Hi, Anna. I've noticed that I seem to attract men who are already married or in relationships and at least twice my age. It is hard for me to resist engaging back, as most times when they approach me, it's usually casual until hints of more sexual romantic undertones are expressed on their part. I've got my fairy pencil. I'm going to circle stuff to come back to like I always do. And I'm just going to read through the letter so we can hear what's going on. Okay. One man, she says, I cut off about 2 years ago. He was married. His kids were older than me, as I had just turned 18 at the time of him talking to me. I was attracted to him, but mostly engaged back with him because of the false care and comfort he provided me. Now I'm 21 and I find myself in a similar situation. This man is twice my age and in a long-term relationship, and also who I'd consider to be a family friend. I'm in a state of limerence towards him. In person, I try my best to keep a respectful distance until he comes toward me, and I only talk to him when he reaches out first on text. We will end up having a conversation through text for multiple hours about anything and everything. I really enjoy talking to him, and like the last man, he showed a lot of care toward me. Although this man seems genuine, which I love. I've noticed that he always ends up making some joke or comment expressing his attraction toward me, but then he will claim that we're just friends. I know I don't want a serious relationship with this man, as I would never actively pursue him, knowing he's in a committed relationship. With this being so, I cannot deny that I like and have a strong attraction toward him that I believe to be mutual. The only potential cause I can think of, this being a recurring pattern in my life, would be that I grew up without having a father or knowing anything about him. But my entire childhood, I was told by my mother that when I became an adult, I would be given the information about him to then reach out and meet him. This wasn't the case, since I've not been able to meet him nor have any interest in the matter anymore. But my entire childhood, I would constantly fantasize about meeting him and finally having a dad. Could this be where my attraction toward older, unavailable men comes from? Also, do you think I'm doing something that is attracting these types of men, maybe just by the energy I'm emitting, or that it's simply coincidence? And then she says, thank you, Gwen. All right, Gwen, you're going to get tough love fairy today. I think you could hear it in my voice leading up to this. Girl, you have to stop. You have to stop. You asked for my advice. You must stop. I think that you have a common CPTSD thing where all the locus of control and decision you've exported to this other person. It's like, well, they're writing me, so I'm doing it. You're doing something very wrong here. And, you know, everybody in the chorus out here in the peanut gallery is going to go, he's the one. He's not writing to me. He doesn't care what we think. He's going to do what he's got a lot more years of maturity under his belt to decide for himself how he's handling this. But we, as people healing from trauma, do not participate in lies and things that are morally hurtful to other people. We don't. So I'm just telling you right now, that's where this is going. So let's go through what you said. Yes, I think it's about your dad. That's pretty easy to see. You never had one. You always fantasized you'd meet him. So we all have that. We imprint on parents or the lack thereof, and we act on it. And that's all stuff that you get to heal now. It's not easy. It's a long road. It's going to show up like this. But in the meantime, you don't get to hurt other people, and you absolutely have the power to stop doing that. So even though you would be sad, even though you have limerence for this person, it is wrong for you to have chats with him for hours on end. All right? People who are just friends don't do that. You are not Like you're imagining, it's like, I'm only responding to his text and we're just chatting. It's not actually sex, so it's not harmful. That's wrong. This is called an emotional affair. It's definitely corrosive to his relationship that he's in. It almost certainly involves lying to that other person, presumably a woman. It involves lying to her, making a fool out of her, where she trusts him. She's got her life invested in him, and he's carrying on like this, and you're the person who is enabling it. This is the crap fit thing of a kid who's been neglected, where you go, he's genuine and he cares about me. He's a liar and he's using you. I'm so hard about this, but I just, you asked me and I have a very strong reaction to this one. I almost didn't want to answer it because it made me feel so angry. And I don't blame you because you're young and you were neglected and you were never cared for properly. I think it's wrong that your mom's like, I'm not going to tell you about your dad. You'll figure it out later. There's years ahead for you to figure that out. We'll see what happens about that. But you're not alone. Many of us had to grow up without a dad, and that's terrible. And it really does affect people. It affects men a certain way. It affects women a certain way. It has an impact. And if dads were present but not present, or present but abusive, there's all kinds of ways that can affect people. Dads are so important to our development. So you didn't get to have that. So it's really natural that your spirit is trying to accomplish that development. And the only thing that it knows to go after, it's like, are you my daddy? Are you my daddy? I say that not demeaningly, but we often joke about the book, Are You My Mom? Are you my mother? The book from when I was a kid, where a little bird, Kate, doesn't know how to find its mother and it's asking all the different animals. Like we do that because we don't know. And your spirit has a language of its own and a process of its own, but your head has a brain and it has moral reasoning. And it's so important that you not harm, even if we didn't care about him or his partner, it will harm you. You are taking your integrity and you're just like, oh, screw it, snap, integrity. I just want what I want. I'm not trying to put you down, but I'm trying to tell you from the outside it's clear what this is. All right. So he's twice as old as you. He knows darn well that a young woman gets hurt in this type of thing. And that is not a good person. It's not a good person. He's getting his emotional needs met to feel adored and worshipped. And this thing where he says, oh, I'm so attracted to you sexually. No, actually, we're just friends. That's called bookmarking. It has a word. And it's where you plant the idea and then you duck out with plausible deniability that you didn't mean it. But you plant it in the mind of another person so that you can see if you can get some limerence going. That is what bookmarking is for. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it just goes on, dead soil in people, and they throw a bookmark out there and people are like, who wants an unavailable man? Not me. And it doesn't work. And then sometimes they just get that energy hit back. It's like, did you just bookmark me? Oh, well, of course, that's the dynamic. That's the dynamic. And I say this as somebody who has been all three characters in this drama in the past, and every single role is a miserable role that leads to loss and emptiness. So I'm trying to, I'm hoping you can take my warning on this. Stop it now. You can stop it now. So you actually don't owe him an explanation, but if you do anything, do a very short text and say, sorry, on thinking about this, I realize this relationship is unhealthy for me and I need to stop having any communication with you. I wish you the best. Block. A lot of people know that I don't advocate blocking for every boundary, but this is a boundary that needs a block. He's not a trustworthy person. He's not somebody who respects the well-being of others. He needs to be removed. You're too young for this. If an adult were doing this, I would tell them another reason why they have to do the exact same thing. And they're not too young for it, but they're human. They're dear-hearted people who hope for love and are hoping to recover from not getting enough love as kids. And so when you let people like this into your life, it'll just start to lay down the railroad tracks that go completely in the wrong direction. And this is how so many of us have ended up alone for years of our life, is taking our emotional energy and investing it in this great big thing that goes off a cliff. And everybody knows it's going off a cliff. Anybody can see it. But because of the way we were raised, we can use our imagination to think, no, somehow that train will detour and come back and it's going to turn into the destination that I really want. It's not. That's not what's going to happen. Pain and loss are what wait for you at the edge of this, at the end of this journey. You can cut it off now and you can come out with the the integrity and the dignity of just saying, I made a decision about how to handle this based on what was best for me. And the rest of your life, that will be the story. You made a decision that was best for you. You realized it wasn't healthy and you stopped it. And, whether who cares what he thinks? But, on some level, it is really best for him and certainly best for his partner that this stop right now. When people are in a committed relationship, emotional affairs are terrible, even if they only stay emotional affairs, although this does not sound like it would stay that way, between your limerence and his agenda. And you're like, is it a coincidence that I just attract these people? No, you're 21, you're a young woman, they're older, you're doting on them. There are certain people who, they're going to just go wherever they can get that energy. Think of them like vampires, where they smell blood, they'll go there. They want to suck the life out of you. It makes them feel more alive. And they will do it even though they know it has a consequence for you. Now, for all we know, he has a sex addiction or something where he can't really fully be conscious of how much he's hurting other people here. So we'll give him a pass, but mostly we'll give him a pass just because he didn't ask. And we don't care about this. I care about you and your precious future, your potential, your tender heart, your capacity to be loved. How about if the first time that you actually get into a relationship that's reciprocal, it proceeds very slowly. There's nobody using anybody. Nobody has to lie about it. It doesn't have to be kept secret against the person who would be hurt and all the people who would really look down on the man, because he's a liar and a cheater. There's a lot at stake there, why he would want to keep that secret. So no secrecy, that's a sign that it's not good. It proceeds slowly, there's a true friendship there, and then when you become intimate and close and in love with that person, imagine it's the sort of relationship that at last is real love and it heals you. So being young doesn't mean that you can just pick that one and you're going to go straight to it, and skip all this stuff. A lot of these other relationships are lessons, to start learning, whoa, not this. And that's what I'm telling you. Gwen, these guys who are married or in serious relationships and who are pretending to be your friend and having 3-hour chats with you, they're not your friend. And they're not showing care for you, and they're not genuine. So they're charming is what it is. And that's the thing. Selfish people can be very successful in this type of relationship if they are charming. Because girls like us who got, jerked around as kids, didn't get loved properly, I got taken away from my dad when I was quite young. But I did know him. And then he died when I was 15. Oh, God, and it affected me. It affected me very much, and it drove my relationship decisions. And then my mom, not really wanting me, drove my relationship decisions. We can't help but be affected, but we have to override sometimes the path that trauma would just sort of like push us towards. You don't have to go towards that path. The thing about trauma, and also just having a body and being sexual and being a young person. And I always say this, like, as a young woman, you have one of the most potent and extraordinary forces within you that the universe has ever made. You create life. You're amazing. Men will always fall for you. Don't worry about that. That will always be there for you. It's for you to be discerning about what kind of relationship do you want to be in. And nobody can come back and be your dad. That ship has sailed, and this is the sad thing, but we can go ahead and cry and grieve it right now. We can never get back what was lost when we were kids. If we didn't get parented when we were 5 or 3 or 16 when we needed it, we're not going to be that age again. Now we're going to live our lives in a new way so that we grow up and mature and get our emotional needs met. But one of the surest ways to make sure that your emotional needs will not be met is to become attached emotionally, sexually with people who are unavailable, which is what these guys are. They're unavailable. They're vampires who don't have anything to give you. And for a certain amount of time, you'd probably be able to sort of imagine up that you're getting this amazing thing. It's a great experience. It's good for you. I'm just projecting because that's what people do in limerent relationships. But actually, it's just draining you of your joy, your beauty, your potential, your time. And so I guess I couldn't be clearer how I feel about this. I just really encourage you to stop it. Stop it without fanfare, stop it without a big conversation. And you might want to take my dating course. How that course starts is you write down exactly what you want for real. The time to do it is when you're single. Single and heartbroken, you're motivated, but single, so you're not tempted to write down your vision of what would really be your dream and the relationship and the life you want. You write that down, not fitting it to who you happen to be with, you know, but like really blue sky thinking, like, what would I really want? And don't worry that we don't always get exactly what we want. That's a given. But when you write down knowing what you really want, it helps you be a lot more aware as you move forward when you meet somebody and it's like, this isn't it. So one thing I would suggest you put is, my ideal relationship cannot be attached to another person romantically. Not a wife, not a girlfriend, not a committed relationship, not a guy. Cannot be with them. Because what I believe you're saying is you would like a monogamous relationship. I'm all for that. People, gosh, somebody, yet again, they go, you seem like you're biased against poly people and non-monogamy is okay. And I just said, yeah, no, I'm not like subtly biased. I'm very biased. I teach people here with attachment wounds how to stay away from people who hold that ideal. Everybody gets to do what they want. But if you have attachment wounds and what you long for is love, just like, oh yeah, the people who have a rationale for why they get to sleep with other people, like skip those ones over. There's plenty who would like to be with you, who would like to be with you for real, fully, no other people. Monogamy, it's nice. It's very healing for trauma when you have an attachment wound. If you're with a good person, and that's going to take time. You're very young, so it's going to take time. You probably have dating relationships before you find that person, but you get to have boundaries and you get to have clarity about what you want. Now, if you were to date on this method that I teach of structured dating, you think of dating now as dating is how you figure out if someone is the one that you want to marry. If you know your criteria, like, I must have this in a spouse, and they cannot be this way. You name what those are. I had like 200 things. They weren't all like must have, cannot be. Some of them were nice to have, you know, and some of them were very desirable, but certain non-negotiables were they cannot be an addict or alcoholic. I'd already done that disastrously before. They had to be suitable stepdads for my kids. They had to completely accept my life as I do the daily practice and not have any weirdness about that. Those were some of my non-negotiables, right? And I had only ever dated people who could not deliver on those three things, and who wanted to get married, just like I did, and who considered me a potential person to marry, and who no involvement with other women. And so I got all that. As soon as I named it and wrote it down, that's who showed up in my life. And I think that a lot of people with trauma have trouble being attracted to people who are available and appropriate for them. That's how CPTSD can really do a number on you and send it right into the next generation. So it's very, very important that you take time to heal. And even if you have to tie yourself to the mast of a ship, do not get involved with married men. Do not get involved with people who are lying to be in a relationship with you. If they really love you, they will get divorced and spend a year or two overcoming the pain of that before they even think about dating anybody else. Okay? That's how it works. That's how a good life unfolds. So anybody watching, if you feel like your past trauma has affected your relationship life, I have a quiz, and it has a series of questions. It lists common symptoms that show up when people have been traumatized as kids. These are the symptoms that show up in your dating and relationship life. So you might want to find out, like, how many of those do you have yes on? You can download that. It's down below. There's a link to my free tools page on my website. My website's crappychildhoodfairy.com. You can go straight there or follow the link. And I have a series of quizzes there about how your past may have affected different parts of your life. You can take those quizzes. I also have the free course, The Daily Practice, down there, which can really help with all the feelings that come up every day, but especially when you're setting a boundary and you're no longer having contact with somebody who's destructive for you. And if you love this topic, I've got a video lined up that's called Chasing the Feeling of Being Loved. And I've got that right here, and I will see you very soon.